The phenomena of life. When color serves presence. A generational record of visual harmony and structural balance. This is an audio story written by Cardinal, the illumination of a dynamic archive. There is a distinction between color that announces itself and color that allows a subject to be seen. This record examines the mechanics of visual harmony, how hue, depth, and tone function as an invisible support system for human presence. Across generations, people have experimented with pigment, fabric, and environment, sometimes allowing color to dominate the field of vision and sometimes discovering the quieter discipline of balance. The purpose of this record is not to celebrate color as spectacle but to examine the moment when color becomes structural rather than decorative. In that moment, the system stops competing with the individual and begins serving them, allowing the person to remain the central presence while color performs its work silently beneath the surface. Imagine entering a room where every wall, fabric, and object competes for attention. The colors are bright, insistent, and restless, demanding the eye name them one after another. Conversation becomes secondary because the system itself speaks louder than the people inside it. The same phenomenon occurs when a garment overwhelms the face that wears it. The viewer notices the brightness of the cloth long before the person who stands within it. Yet there are other rooms, other garments, other arrangements where the opposite occurs. In these environments, color is present but restrained, supporting the atmosphere without overtaking it. The individual remains visible and calm, as though the surrounding tones have agreed to cooperate. This record begins with that quiet agreement, where color no longer competes for recognition but instead serves the presence it surrounds. When color dominates the visual field, attention is drawn outward toward the object rather than inward toward the person. The eye names the pigment before it acknowledges the human form, describing the brightness of the garment, the sharpness of the wall, or the boldness of the surrounding environment. In these moments, color becomes the primary subject, and the individual who occupies the space recedes behind it. The viewer may remember the color long after the person has left the room, not because the individual lacked presence but because the system of visual signals placed the emphasis elsewhere. Color has weight, and when that weight is unbalanced, it quietly pushes the subject out of focus. When color harmonizes with the person who wears it, the opposite effect occurs. The eye settles rather than reacts, and the viewer does not feel compelled to name the color aloud. Instead, the presence of the individual comes forward naturally, as though the visual environment has agreed to remain supportive rather than dominant. Harmony does not mean the absence of color. It means that color has been placed in relationship with the form it surrounds. In this arrangement, the viewer perceives balance without consciously analyzing why the arrangement feels right. In skilled use, color functions less as decoration and more as structure. It shapes the visual space around the human form, creating depth, contrast, and definition without drawing unnecessary attention to itself. When a shade is too dark, the features of the face can appear absorbed by the surrounding tone. When a shade is too pale, the form loses its grounding and appears detached from its environment. The task of the trained eye is to locate the point where color supports the subject without overtaking it. At the correct depth, color performs its work quietly. It does not ask to be praised or identified, and it does not interrupt the natural exchange between viewer and subject. Instead, it creates a stable field in which the person remains visible and centered. Observers often describe these moments with simple language, saying that someone looks well, or that the arrangement feels balanced, rarely realizing that color has played a precise role in creating that impression. The goal of harmony is not to showcase beautiful colors but to reveal the vitality of the person who wears them. When color aligns correctly with complexion and structure, the viewer perceives the brightness of the eyes, the warmth of the skin, and the expression of the face rather than the pigment of the cloth. The color becomes an extension of the subject rather than a competing object. In this state, the person appears to wear the color rather than be overshadowed by it. This principle extends beyond garments into every constructed environment. The same balance that supports a person's presence in clothing also shapes the arrangement of rooms, objects, and public spaces. A well-designed environment allows human interaction to remain the focus while color quietly organizes the surrounding field. Walls, furnishings, and surfaces operate together so that the people within the space remain visible and comfortable rather than visually overwhelmed. Across generations, observers have noticed that certain color relationships appear repeatedly among individuals with similar complexions. Some people are naturally complemented by cooler undertones that bring clarity and contrast to the face, while others respond more strongly to warmer hues that reflect light back into the skin. These observations gradually formed a practical system for understanding how color interacts with human features, not as a rigid rule but as a method for recognizing patterns within the natural spectrum of human appearance. Within cooler tonal systems, depth and clarity often become the structural anchors. Jewel tones such as emerald, sapphire, and deep crimson provide a stable visual field that frames the face without overwhelming it. These colors carry weight while remaining transparent enough for the features of the individual to remain visible. The effect is often described as crisp or luminous, though the underlying mechanism is simply the alignment of pigment with the natural coolness of the complexion. Other individuals experience a softer relationship with color, where muted tones maintain balance more effectively than sharp contrasts. In these systems, slate blues, lavender grays, and dusty rose hues create an atmosphere of calm continuity around the face. Rather than highlighting contrast, these colors gently echo the subtle undertones present in the skin. The resulting harmony produces a quiet elegance in which the person appears composed and natural within the surrounding palette. Warm tonal systems introduce a different structure altogether. Here the complexion responds most strongly to colors that contain golden or earthy undertones. Terracotta, olive, and moss create grounding fields that reflect warmth back into the skin, giving the face a sense of vitality and stability. These hues rarely appear harsh when properly balanced because they resonate with the natural pigments already present within the individual. Among those with the lightest warm tonal structures, color often appears brightest when it reflects the clarity of spring light. Clear aquas, peach corals, and golden yellows echo the natural brightness of these complexions, creating an impression of freshness rather than weight. These hues do not overwhelm the subject because their luminosity matches the reflective quality of the skin. The person remains central while the color amplifies the natural vitality already present. Across all of these systems, the objective remains the same: alignment rather than display. The palette itself is not the subject of the arrangement, it is the instrument through which presence becomes visible. Whether cool or warm, muted or vivid, each palette succeeds only when it supports the human form without competing for attention. The relationship between color and presence also reveals something about human perception itself. The eye instinctively searches for balance within the visual field, preferring arrangements where light, depth, and contrast appear stable. When this balance is achieved, observers rarely analyze the components that created it. Instead, they experience a quiet sense of coherence, as though the environment has resolved itself into a comfortable order. Designers, artists, and artisans have long recognized this phenomenon, applying similar principles in architecture, painting, and craft. The placement of pigment on canvas, the tone of stone within a building, and the color of fabric within a garment all follow the same underlying logic. In each case, the most successful application of color is rarely the most dramatic but the most balanced. Food presentation offers another example of this quiet structure. The arrangement of ingredients on a plate often considers color as carefully as flavor, ensuring that the natural hues of vegetables, grains, and sauces complement one another without appearing chaotic. When this balance is achieved, the dish appears inviting before it is even tasted, demonstrating once again that harmony and color can guide perception before conscious analysis occurs. Generations observing these patterns gradually passed their knowledge forward through practice rather than formal instruction. Parents noticed which colors made their children appear vibrant or pale, Tailors selected fabrics that framed the face rather than overshadowing it. Interior designers arranged rooms so that people remained comfortable within them. Over time, these observations formed a quiet tradition of visual balance. This tradition rarely required formal language because its effects were immediately visible. A garment that harmonized with its wearer required no explanation. A room that felt calm and welcoming spoke for itself. The success of the system was evident in the ease with which people occupied the space. In contrast, environments where color competes for attention often create subtle discomfort. The eye struggles to settle, shifting from one bright element to another without finding a stable point of focus. In such environments, the individual may feel visually overshadowed, even if the colors themselves are technically beautiful. The discipline of harmony therefore lies not in acquiring more color but in understanding restraint. The most effective palettes often contain fewer colors than expected, arranged with care so that each tone contributes to the whole. This restraint allows presence to remain central while color performs its structural role quietly. As observers refine their understanding of these relationships, they begin to recognize the subtle cues that signal harmony. A balanced garment, a well-composed room, or a thoughtfully arranged plate of food all share the same quiet quality. The elements cooperate rather than compete. The result is a visual field where attention rests comfortably on the subject. Over time, this understanding becomes intuitive. Individuals learn which colors support their natural features and which ones compete with them. The decision is no longer analytical but instinctive, guided by the simple observation of how color interacts with presence. What began as experimentation becomes quiet knowledge. In the end, the most successful use of color is rarely noticed as color at all. It appears instead as clarity, vitality, and balance within the person who occupies the space. The system has fulfilled its purpose when the viewer remembers the presence of the individual rather than the pigment that surrounded them. Color has accompanied human life across every culture and generation, appearing in fabrics, landscapes, architecture, and art. Yet its most refined use remains the quietest. When color functions as a structural support rather than a spectacle, it allows individuals to remain visible within the environments they inhabit. This balance transforms color from decoration into discipline, reminding observers that harmony often requires restraint as much as creativity. Across time, the study of color continues to evolve, but the principle of balance remains unchanged. The same quiet alignment between tone and presence that once guided artisans and tailors still shapes modern environments. Wherever people seek clarity and composure in the visual field, the discipline of harmony quietly returns. Visual harmony is rarely announced, yet it is widely recognized when present. The arrangement of color around a subject reflects a deeper relationship between perception and environment, demonstrating that human presence becomes clearer when visual systems cooperate rather than compete. This reflection preserves the observation that color reaches its highest expression when it supports life rather than overshadowing it. Some records exist to preserve moments of discovery, while others exist to preserve quiet principles that shape everyday life. This record preserves the observation that color, when balanced with the human form, becomes a structural support rather than a competing spectacle. Through generations of observation, the principle remains consistent. Harmony allows presence to emerge clearly within the visual field. Thank you for visiting our channel and spending time with our work. Red Cardinal Kitchen, the illumination of a dynamic archive.